Scott contacted me again. So first of all, thanks for having me. Obviously, I do this out of my own, the good of my own time. It's away from my family, away from my house. I work a lot of hours between my job and trying to be a tournament angler, trying to run RV Bass. I'm trying to help a group of, I think we're close to 35, 40 anglers across the United States right now with RV Bass. So I'm a busy dude, and it's hard for me to take time and come do these things, but I like doing it. So I will pretty much cram myself to make sure I can come to these things. So when Scott gave me another opportunity, and he said, here, I want you to come back. I said, well, what's your list? Like, what's your list? And he showed me what you guys were doing, like tournament-wise, as a club. And you guys, there's some great fishermen. Congratulations to Chuck, top 10 in FLW coin. But that's actually way harder than you guys can even imagine. So my hat goes off to you because it's a lot of work. He puts a lot of time in. He leaves his home and his family. And to be top 10 in that is difficult because every guy in the back of the boat at that level could win on the front anywhere. They're good sticks, so congratulations. Keep it up. Go take it home, man. But anyways, what I'm getting at there is you guys get a lot of good speakers. You guys get Ken Ma, and you get some other people that are Delta prolific and some of these other bodies of water. And I could talk about that stuff. I'm pretty good out there too. When he gave me the choice of what to talk about, and you guys had Pardee on the map, I said, there's one that no one talks about. So I'll give you guys a little background about Pardee. So years ago, I had a daughter, and she got to be a couple years old. Once she got to be a few years old, I want to take her camping. Memorial Day comes, and Comanche's crazy, the Delta's nuts, half the lake's got jet skiers and boats and everything on the planet going on, and the crowd is a little different at those places on a holiday weekend, right? So me and my buddy and my other friend all had children. We all went to Pardee because it's clean. There's no jet skiers, no skiers. It's a beautiful impoundment. It's stocked with trout, so we can fish right at the ramp. And of course, everybody knows, if you know anything about Pardee, it's got magnum smallmouth in it and some humongous largemouth in it. It is nothing like the El Salto stuff. As soon as I finish here, I'm driving to Mexico. But Pardee is a beautiful lake. It's usually got super clear water. It's pretty good size. It's not gigantic. It's pretty good size. But it's a clean place to take your kids, take your family, and hang out. So what it did is it gave me about 12 or 15 years during the month of May for a week on Lake Pardee. So I've seen it, I've experienced it, I've learned a lot about it. It's an incredible fishery. It's a little tougher to fish than a lot of places you might go. Haven't been up there lately. A lot of Mays I spent on that lake. So when I got the chance to talk, and it was something I felt like I could bring to you guys and really dig into a lake that's got some tremendous fish in it and give you guys a bunch of stories about that. So first things first, let's talk about some spring bass fishing. Scott, how much time do I have today?
You have about 45 minutes.
Okay, we're going to get a lot in. You guys follow with me because I'm going to throw a lot at you today, okay? Number one I'd like to see too is who's been here and seen me speak before? Like how many guys have followed and seen me speak? So about almost maybe half the room or so, around that. How many of you guys follow RV Bass at all? Go on our website and look at stuff. All right, thank you, because that's why I do what I do, is try to help people, so understand that part.
Chuck, you better get on there.
Yeah, and if you're not following us, we have a website, rbbassfishing.com, rbbassfishing.net. We have Facebook. Go on there. Like us, follow us. We'll interact with you. We got a growing YouTube channel. We're on Instagram and we're on Twitter. So whichever way you guys like to do stuff, cool. But I will say this one cool thing. Go to our website, the top right corner, and sign up for RV Bass News. The reason being is if I do a fishing report, Danny does a fishing report, or any of our 30 guys, and we got some really good young up-and-coming tournament anglers that are doing really well. When they write reports, if you sign up for that e-news, it will get delivered to your email automatically. So you can go about your busy life, open up your email. Oh, look at that, Delta report, bam, right to the website. Okay, you don't have to deal with Facebook if you don't want, or go look at videos if you don't want. Those are meat and potato reports to help you guys have a better idea how to go out this weekend and catch some fish. So please go to our website and sign up for the RV Bass News. Follow us on any other social media channel that you'd like. Okay, so springtime bass fishing, one of my favorite times. Obviously, it's a favorite time for a lot of people because it's when the big fish finally move to the bank. Most of those fish live offshore. They live deep. They live offshore, and they got certain little spots they kind of rotate every year. And then the spring comes, and these fish are going to start to migrate to where they're going to spawn. So we're going to talk first about the basics of where to bass spawn first, and what to visually look for, not just in the water, but what's right there for us to see. There's a lot of key things you can learn about spawning bass just by looking at the environment. So one of the first things is, you know, obviously warming water is important. Time of season is important. Bass start spawning in Florida in what, December if you're fishing FLW tour? So, you know, they start bed fishing down there in December, and as you work your way across our country, you know, December, January, February, through Texas, up into Southern California, we kind of tend to be a March, April, May area. Just tends to be when the bass spawn here, regardless of the weather history. They're going to do their thing regardless of what the weather's doing and how we feel. So, with that being said, where do bass go? So I like to use Clear Lake because it's an area, it's a lake that you can really relate to. How many people fish Clear Lake? Okay, this is a great way to explain spawning bass because the way the lake lays out, okay? You got a big giant bay up north, you got a funnel in the middle of the lake, and you got the south with the deep ponds, right? Bass are going to spawn first in the north, it's shallow. Water heats up faster, more sunlight penetration, so we're going to turn the corner and just look at the north half of the lake. So everybody's got a pretty good vision in their head of the north side of Clear Lake, right? It's a big giant bay, it's flat, the middle might be 20, 25 feet on a high water year. Most of the stuff you're fishing in is 10 foot or less, right? So the first area spawning bass are going to go to is going to be the north bank, okay? Couple reasons, sunlight angles, okay? Where that sun comes up at and where that light's beaming, that water's going to warm the first thing that's going to warm. The second thing is it's protected from the north wind. Okay, so those are two key elements no matter what for the first area on any body of water where bass are going to spawn. Amador, it's a little tiny pond. Same philosophy. North side is going to be the first side to spawn. All those little pockets, mountain springs, all those little areas, first areas to spawn. Lake Pardee, your marina is the first place those fish spawn. Right where you launch your boat, that's the first place to spawn. It's flat, it's shallow, it's got a lot of fish get kind of let go in there. Trout are about that big. Might want to throw a couple swim baits around, but that's the first area they're going to spawn. Again, think in your head how that relates to Clear Lake, right? It's this side, it's the north side, okay? It's the first area the fish are going to spawn. What are some things that we're looking at there? The North Lake is wide. The wider a body of water, the less current, okay? Spawning bass don't like current, okay? Before they spawn they do, and after they spawn they do. But during the spawn, the wider an area of body water is, the less current it's going to have, unless of course it's blowing that day. But generally, rule speaking, wide, north side, right? So we got a couple pieces of the puzzle. Time of season, wider areas, less current, north, south facing bank, right? Those are just three simple things you could take on any body of water. You could take them into the delta. Everybody know what Frank's track looks like. So what side are they going to spawn on first? Most likely this side. They'll rotate around that bay and spawn all over, but that's the first area they're going to spawn just because it has all the same elements. It's wide, it's protected from the north wind, sunlight penetration. So those are some elements you can look at for spawning fish. What's the next thing you can visually see? We know fish will tend to spawn on hard bottoms. If you go to El Salto, they'll dig giant crater holes. Probably meant multiple fish spawn in those holes. That's probably why those holes were so big. Not just because they were double-digit bass, but there's only so many fertile areas on a body of water, period. And all those fish are going to those banks. That just means they have to go in waves. They'll sit out here, they'll move up, right? So how do we know where those areas are at? Toolies are one indicator of many that you can use for where the bass are going to spawn first. Now, does anybody fish Pardee when it's full? They don't exactly have toolies, but they have little king grass. We're going to say you got the main body that's real wide, and it's an entire river arm, right? That river arm has pockets off it all over the place. Coves, V-ditches, guts. V-ditches are like steeper guts. Those big fish will follow some of those steeper guts up. But as you go up that river, all those little pockets you need to be checking in practice because one of them is going to have it in it. They'll just pull off into one pocket, be like magic pocket, okay? I've ran into that lake over and over and over again. As you go up that canyon, it kind of does this kind of stuff, right? You guys have been fishing up there. It's like a river. I mean, it's a river arm. That's what it is. It's going up to that river. That river is blowing water right now, you guys, like crazy. So fish that were at the top of that system right now, It just got cold. That cold thermocline will push those fish back. They will basically swim right up to where that thermocline meets, where you guys will see dirty water, logs, log jams, and then clear water right next to it, okay? Something you look for in every body of water in the spring in California, because they all set up the same way. It just starts in the south. Those lakes start first, and it moves its way up north. So the river arm is canyon walls. And it's another thing you got to check, because late spawning fish in Pardee will just choose a 45-degree wall randomly on that lake. And I've pulled up with a drop shot with a 4-inch worm. I got my kids in the boat, right? Morning dawn, 4-inch drop shot. 30-pound bags for a month straight. Clone, 6-pounders. I'm not catching the 9s and the 10s. Those fish I found back on the main body earlier, pitching a Cinco, throwing a Huddleston, throwing the bigger S-Waver. Right now you guys are going to get some bites on the big trout S-Waver. You see followers, you can get them to eat it. Especially if in the afternoon, if it warms up a little bit and you get a little breeze going or a little cloud cover. Those fish on that lake love kokanee and trout. So you'll get some S-Waver bites. And I've caught a lot of those up the canyon. I would actually say this time of year up there, the two things I've caught the most fish on in the canyon part is a drop shot and a swim bait. Just that simple. And we're not up there tournament fishing, guys. We're just up there fun fishing and just running into them and then going, hey, I'm going to stay on this bite for as long as it lasts. So all I would do is, when I started finding what part of that river those later fish were in, is I would just follow them for the next 30 days, right? They're going to start off at the top where that cold water's at, somewhere coming back, they're going to find that sweet spot in your water temperature, and they're going to be in pre-spawn still. And I'm going to catch those fish. And as the lake warms up and the cold water starts coming down even more, the lake will back push upward with warm water, okay? And that thermocline will get even harder, and that's when you'll start to see like canopies. Don't be afraid to punch those if you have a heavyweight boat. There's fish under every one of them, sometimes smallmouth too. Big ones, like 4 or 5 pound smallmouth are under those canopies, and they think they're largemouth. When you get to be that big in your smallmouth, I guess you just think you're a largemouth. So follow that thermocline up. Simple. I mean, morning dawn and margarita mutilator, you don't need any other colors. I use light line, the water's clear, I'm fishing with 6 to 8 pound test. That's it. No heavier on that. Swim baits, I'm throwing on 15 to 20, depending on the bait. Like I said, Huddleston, top hook talon, all trout colored baits, kokanee colored baits, the bigger S-Waver trout colored bait, and even just the kind of a chrome colored one. Those all work great, okay? You guys, someone is going to run into a fish right around double digit at that time. There's enough of you guys here casting and throwing stuff out that someone can catch one that's double digit that has not spawned yet. There is gigantic fish in that lake. They're difficult to track once they get past 10 pounds there. They're just, I don't know, they just go out sitting 120 feet of water and suspend, or what they do, they just don't make themselves very visible. So, an amazing lake. So let's get a little bit of smallmouth talk in there. Most of those fish will have spawned. They won't be in the backs of stuff. What they'll be is on your secondary points that lead to coves. So smallmouth and largemouth don't really like to interact with each other. You notice that on Berryessa, you guys have fished Berryessa, you'll get 5 smallmouth on beds, and then there'll be a largemouth. Smallmouth spawn on what? The hardest bottom. All rock, little pebble, tiny little pebble stuff is really, really good. They'll spawn on that. A largemouth will be next to them where there's a soft spot with the hard bottom. They do not want to be together, okay? It's the same thing on Pardee. We'll find those smallmouth this time of year somewhere in that 25 to 35 foot zone. Most of the ones we've caught have been on a drop shot because they've mostly spawned already and they've moved out deep, okay? So you can go around the main body and chase those smallmouth. If you find a herd of them, you catch them. So colors of Cincos on that lake, 3 colors. That's all I use. I don't use anything. Just there's 3 colors. Okay, green, straight green pumpkin, no colors, flakes. Straight green pumpkin is one. 330, which is a green pumpkin, purple green flake. So you're gonna start to see where this is going in a second. And the last one is probably one of the most important ones when those fish get finicky. It's a 4-inch Cinco, little one. It's pumpkin, not green pumpkin. Pumpkin green flake. I've probably used 500 of those on that lake. Might give you an idea. They like the thing, okay? And again, I'm taking friends, I'm taking kids, so I was throwing baits to catch fish, and we just kept unlocking the puzzle of that place. So
Do you drop shot them? Do you?
No, I'm just,
Texas rig 'em,
so
wacky
again,
rig
on
'em?
that, it's gonna be a spin rod, 8-pound test, wacky rigged, no nail, no weight, because you're fishing for spawn to post-spawn fish. Slow way down. One of the biggest mistakes people make in the spring, we're chasing those reaction fish that are there first, and then when they get straight to where they're on the beds and they're spawning, I don't care about your moving baits. You gotta leave it in there, okay? Count pebbles. If you're around where you think there's beds or you see a bed and she's leery, talk about some bed fishing. So, because you can bring me to that with how you rig that Cinco. So that was wacky rigged, little 4-inch, 8-pound test, spin rod, call it what you want. That's how I catch it. And I've caught a lot of them.
What size hook do you use?
What's that?
What kind of hook do you use?
Well, most of the time I'm fishing for largemouth, and the fish in Pardee tend to run at that time. There's a lot of 4-pounders out there. Some 5s, and you'll run into 9s. That's just the classification of fish that live there. So most of the time I'm using like I believe it's a 4-aught. 4-aught. And I like red hooks quite a bit.
So use a big hook.
Yes. Because
Really
everything I'm catching is over 4 pounds.
Yeah, that's a big hook.
Even a little bait. So very rarely do you catch any little tiny fish. You catch little tiny ones, they're eating the babies. Just leave them, go to another area. So let's talk about the bed part of it, because there is going to be some bed fish out there. Someone might sight fish some fish, right? It's just that time of year. Someone's going to find some. There won't be a ton. There's going to be some. So, like I said, some of the mistakes I see with bed fish, I'm even hearing about from my guys on the Delta right now. They're super good fishermen, but they just haven't slowed themselves down yet. Well, I've been throwing crankbait, I'm throwing a chatterbait, and I'm catching some one day and not the next, and I can't catch them on the next. Well, that's because the next day they pulled up the spawn, and they're not chasing your baits down, okay? You've got to leave it in there, and you really got to leave it in there. So I tell people around the spawn, whether you can see fish or not, again, I gave you a great thing to envision. Wait full up to Pardee, plan on being, you're going to get at the gate, you can't get any earlier than the gate opens. So you guys need to check on that, find out what the gate time is, announce it to the club. But when you go there, plan on having your boat be clean. Make sure your live well is dry, okay? I personally have gone there, taken paper towels, stuck them in the live well, dried them out. Make sure you pull your drain plug out. If you pull up and it's in, then just turn you around and send you home. So drain plug has to be out. It needs to be dry. Live wells need to be dry. Your cooler chest needs to be dry. They want nothing that drains into the boat that can go out your bilge to protect from the quagga mussels. So if you're bringing cooler chest stuff, recommendation Pardee, put it in your truck. As soon as your inspection's done, dump it in your boat, because then you're good. Okay? You got a question?
No, I wanted to say that if I come up from another state, although I was born and raised in this state, the one thing they don't allow up there is an out-of-state boat, because I have one and I can't.
I would read before I go. That's my recommendation. I would read before I go. Go to Pardee. Exactly. And either way, everybody in here right now, the way the rules are changing and things are going, before you go somewhere like Pardee, read the rules yourself. So you don't get there and act all upset and go home and ruin your day. Just go read the rules before you go there.
There's a big sign as you go in, no out-of-state boat.
There you go. Good point. I'm not a quagga expert, but I keep my boat clean so that I don't have to think about it. So, question?
They even check my lower unit. They put it down, water
That's
goes
correct.
down.
You cannot have no water leaking
Nothing.
from your boat.
Yeah.
None.
Oh, 6:30 they open up.
6:30. So there you go. So opening time Pardee, 6:30. Okay.
I'll make a phone call and see if I can get her to open up early. I don't know. She was very nice when I talked to her on the phone. I just don't have the paper with me.
They like when you bring in business, so they
Yeah.
may do something with you. I can't
So
answer for that.
if that's the case, then we'll shoot out an email to everybody and let everybody know what the deal is.
So I kind of try to cover a lot in a small window, you guys, but it was the basics of where fish are going to spawn, how lakes lay out, and kind of what to look for in the spring.
They will open up. What do you think of jig?
It can be a good jig lake. You know, it's a structure lake. It's got crawdads in it, so a tube can be good there. And I've had more than a 10-year experience on there, taking our kids there every year for more than a week, exactly at that time of year. So I fish a certain way because I'm looking for spawn fish. If you're looking for pre-spawn fish, any point you see, drag a jig. That lake, the hula grub, will probably outshine your bulkier jigs because the water's so clear. That's why small drop shots do well there. Because sometimes you're looking down there, you see the bottom like 15 feet deep, and there is nothing on it. Because as soon as if you can see the bottom, those fish aren't in it. They're right outside that in that darker water. But jigs can be good. Hula grubs, DT, green pumpkin, DT5s. Got a lot of fish on that. Not what I target that time of year, but it definitely can be a viable tool on any body of water this time of year, especially with these weather changes, right? Fishing real slow, counting pebbles. Maybe not chasing the bed fish, but you're definitely fishing slow for those fish that are being finicky and not eating. So.
You talked a lot about spawning fish and beds and stuff.
Mhm.
If that time of year most of the fish are actually post-spawn, what would you consider the value of fishing post-spawn fish?
That's where that little weightless 4-inch Senko's coming in on that lake. Frogs, wake baits, S-wavers.
If it's raining, how do they deal with the water in your bilge?
You know, depending on whether it's a cold front or a warm front. You get on these bodies of water when it's a cold front, it's just going to be difficult. And again, that's where that drop shot just tends to excel, and you just got to slow down. You know?
Give the boat a kick.
Oh, you know, I would call Pardee and ask. I'm not a Pardee expert as far as I don't work for the lake or any of that stuff. I've just fished it a lot. So that's something you would want to call Pardee. I've had that same question in my head. What if it's raining?
It's gonna rain, guys, and you have a cover for your boat. Put the cover on.
So again, they want it dry. That's the bottom line. So
You go up early, you can also get, they'll put a piece on your boat, so you can go back in without having to go back to inspection. So if you are gonna pre-fish and you're not gonna go anywhere else, save some time.
yeah, you only have to check
Oil
once.
Yeah, they put the little clip on
They
there,
put the clip on there and
on the
when you get
bow,
back in
yeah.
there,
So like we camp there, they do that. We can go in and out of the water. We're fine. Only one check.
yeah. What's your S-waver setup?
7'6", medium heavy, fast tapering tip. I use the Veritas rods. That's what I throw. They run about $100 right now. In fact, I think they're $80 because they're going to the new models. That's the rod I've been throwing S-wavers on since they first came out and the Veritas was available. I prefer to throw it on fluoro, 15-pound to 20-pound line. So if I'm using as people, I don't like to use the numbers, the mid-size S-waver, which is a 168, I'll throw that on 15-pound fluorocarbon. If I'm throwing the big one, it's 20.
Straight fluorocarbon or fluorocarbon?
Straight fluorocarbon. Do not throw braid when I throw swim bait. Don't think it's necessary. Just me. Anybody else?
How about you, Sam?
Alabama rigs. He said he's going to bring that up. Definitely a pre-spawn bait, not a spawn bait. Most of the time, Pardee right now is spawn to post-spawn. So that's kind of where I focused for you guys at with the fish are usually do. Now, as I told you, you can go up that river and find that thermocline. There will be pre-spawn fish, and they will eat an Alabama rig. The difference is, if I'm throwing an Alabama rig on Pardee, I'm probably throwing swim baits that are about that big on them. 5 of them.
What?
Yes, I want them to be the same size as little kokanee. That's what they eat there. So going back over the forage of Pardee, crawfish, bluegill, bass, they eat bass. There's trout and kokanee. And a largemouth there forage on trout and kokanee, that's what they eat. So kokanee get stocked, they're about that big. They grow up, they're about that big.
Makes my pocket hurt.
It also makes the bass's jaw hurt when you hook up on a couple of them, I think. So it is another way to search for fish. It's an aggressive way to search for fish when they're feeding. Again, I'm going to throw a swim bait because I know what they eat there, and I've caught so many of them on, and I'm already confident throwing a swim bait. I don't throw giant ones. Again, I'm throwing an S-waver and a mid-size to the big one. Most of the fish that I've caught on swim baits, some Huddleston and a lot on the top of Talon in kind of a naked trout color. They really like that bait on that lake. In fact, sometimes I actually slow down throwing the Talon there because they choke it and they're bleeding. So I'll throw the Huddleston because it hooks them more towards the front of the mouth, and then I'm not hurting fish. I get all emotional when I catch big fish and I hurt them. It kind of, yeah, I don't feel good when that happens. It kind of bothers. It's something that happened when I was a kid. Me and my buddy, we'd go fishing, and if we caught big fish and we go to try to revive them and they swallowed the hook, and back when we were kids, we're trying to pull the line out. We don't know any better. We're just trying to pull the line out, get our tackle back, and then let the fish go. And if we did that and ever injured a fish and it didn't do well, me and my friend would get pretty emotional over it. We're just so tuned into taking care of these fish because we want to come back and catch them when they're big. So, you know, the weather is definitely going to be interesting to see what happens, you know, 3 weeks from now. I mean, we just went from winter to summer A bunch of fish just pulled up and spawned everywhere just now, quickly. They only need 1 or 2 days of this weather. They've been waiting. They will pull up and spawn quick, and then you're going to have some little waves of fish that do their thing. That's why I said I would focus up somewhere in that canyon, looking to find where that sweet spot's at that they're rested up still and haven't spawned yet. So, anything else?
Too soon to throw a frog at Clear Lake, you think?
No. Bass start eating topwater stuff in the mid-50s. Not a lot of them. Delta bites, half of our friends were catching frogfish in February, just not talking about it. 58 degrees, they started catching them. Again, weather conditions, some fish have moved up and spawned. They're very susceptible to a frog. They're tired, they're lazy, they don't like things that move very fast, and they need a good sized meal. And they're gonna execute the bite almost every time.
You're saying like the bigger fish like to spawn a little bit out deeper, like how deep you think?
The late spawners like to spawn out deeper. I've caught fish spawning in clear water all the way out to 12 foot of water. And you'll see something down there that's a little different. Like I can go back to when I fished Amador a lot as going up too, you know. And I've seen some gigantic fish spawn May and June. They're always out deeper off the bank. The water gets clear. Most of the pressure of fishing is done. And those fish will spawn deeper. And that's where I said you'll see males that you'll be like, oh, look at that female. And then the big one moves in. You're like, whoa, you know, oh, geez, that's the female. So big fish, there is big fish that will spawn late. I've seen bedfish in Clear Lake in August. You know, there's the kind of the false spawn on the Delta in the fall. Clear Lake has the same thing. There's some fish that just spawn when they want to. And again, if it keeps getting cold and it keeps getting windy, and there's only so much protected area for them to spawn that has the right bottom, only so many can move in. That's, you know, these giant holes he's talking about. Probably, we saw a hole last year in Mildred Island on the Delta. There was 6 fish spawning in this hole at the same time, and one was over 10 pounds. Had her bite twice, and then the clock struck 3 and we had to go. But there's 6 fish spawning in a hole. Now, it wasn't a hole this big. It was like almost like an oval. They were just laying up in there, going back and forth crazy. So, you know. And those fish were spawning in like 8 foot of water. It was later in the spawn. They weren't up there where the low tide meets, you know, where their backs are hanging out of the water, which is most of them right now are spawning where the low tide's at super skinny water. So the Delta fish, a lot of people, I'm not seeing any beds out there. It's because you're not looking in 12 inches of water. That's where they're at. They're not out here where, you know, where you can see them. Some later ones will be. Like Franks, they spawn out in the middle. Telephone Cut, they spawn way out in the middle. They're not on the banks. Now the right tide, you have the right water clarity and the right week of the year because they do it quick on those areas. So there's spawn fish all over offshore. So.
Any other questions, guys?
I have a couple Arby Bass stickers up here if you guys want any, and a couple of cards if you guys want to get a card, contact us later or anything like that. I'm pretty interactive with people. Again, I ask you guys to go to just our website and sign up for e-news, so when we do fishing reports or product reviews, it gets emailed right to you guys. I appreciate you guys having me. I have fun when I do this. I hope you guys learn something. You know, a little bit about spring fishing and a little bit about party. So I would think the water temps are going to be kind of cool because the water, there's twice as much. There's 187% snow capacity right now.
The north of Folsom, it's like just
Blown.
not even 52 yet.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's
It was 74 today.
yeah, North Lake,
Crazy.
up in the north.
Here or there. It's up everywhere.
Yeah, Berryessa warms up fast because it has a lot of color in the water and it warms up fast. But you could have gone just a couple weeks ago. The Narrows were 57 and the Vineyards were 67 the same day.
Heated up quick.
You know,
It's like 90 something today.
bottom's got something to do with that, depth, and then sunlight angle, right? So where is it warm first on Berryessa? Up there on the Vineyards. It's the widest no current, sun angle. Afternoon gets over there, it faces back to the Vineyards. Clear Lake, Nice is the other one. Afternoon, sun hits Nice. But I'm not going to tell you guys too much. So thanks for having me. Again, I got a couple stickers here if you guys want some, and a couple of cards. My donation is coming. So, you know.
Thanks, Ron.